In 1925, Miami sold more real estate in a single month than Manhattan had in an entire year. This was not a city growing. This was a city being invented at a speed no American metropolis had ever attempted. By 1926, most of what had been built was already obsolete, abandoned or erased by a hurricane that redrew the coastline. The boom was not driven by industry or immigration. It was driven by something stranger, a coordinated fantasy sold through advertisements, free bus tours, and architectural facades that existed only to be photographed. AI reconstruction now lets us walk through streets that were completed, populated, photographed, and gone, all within 18 months. I want to show you 3 places that made this speed possible. A swimming pool that was never meant for swimming, a street designed to be seen only from a moving car, and a railway terminal that became the most efficient conduit for delusion in American history. The Venetian Pool opened in 1924 as part of George Merrick's Coral Gables development. It was carved from a coral rock quarry and styled as a Mediterranean ruin. The pool was fed by underground springs and held 820,000 gallons of water. It featured artificial caves, waterfalls, Venetian-style loggias, and a casino building designed by Phineas Paste and Denman Fink. Esther Williams and Johnny Weissmuller swam exhibitions there during the height of the boom. Promotional brochures from 1924 and 1925, now archived at History Miami Museum, show the pool as the centerpiece of every sales campaign. But the pool was not a leisure amenity for residents. It was a stage set used during daily real estate tours to convince Midwestern buyers that subtropical living was glamorous and European. Picture this. You arrive by bus from the Coral Gables sales office, part of a tour group that includes a school teacher from Ohio and a grocer from Indiana. The guide gestures toward the pool's colonnades and calls it a remnant of old Spain. You notice the mortar is still wet. The water is turquoise, cold, spring-fed. A woman in a bathing costume dives from a platform while a photographer sets up a tripod. The guide is already walking you toward a model home. You have been at the pool for less than 5 minutes. Here is the paradox. A place designed to look ancient and timeless was less than a year old when it became the centerpiece of a sales empire. The Venetian Pool still exists today. It is now a municipal landmark and one of the few surviving pieces of Merrick's original Coral Gables. But the pool was only the opening act. The real performance was happening 2 blocks away, where entire streetscapes were being staged faster than they could be inhabited. The original Miracle Mile commercial district was built in 1925 with Mission Revival and Mediterranean facades designed exclusively for visibility from automobiles. Developer George Merrick hired over 3,000 workers to complete it. Merrick operated the largest private bus fleet in Florida to shuttle prospects from Miami hotels to Coral Gables sales pavilions. By mid-1925, Coral Gables was selling an average of $2 million in lots per week. Sales ledgers and promotional materials from 1924 to 1926, now held in the University of Miami archives, show the scale of the operation. Architectural facades were completed before internal structures. Many buildings photographed in 1925 brochures had no rear walls. They were designed to be seen, not entered. Street trees along the Miracle Mile were transplanted fully mature, often dying within months, because Merrick needed the district to look established immediately. The streetscape, designed to evoke centuries of Mediterranean urbanism, was constructed in 16 weeks. Its functional lifespan was shorter than the sales campaign it supported. Contemporary articles in Architectural Forum described the district as speculative urbanism. The term was not meant as praise. What made this speed possible was not just ambition. It was a piece of infrastructure that had arrived in Miami only 2 years earlier and changed the physics of construction itself. The Seaboard Airline Railway extension connected Miami directly to the industrial north for the first time, arriving in January 1927 after years of construction through the Everglades. During 1925, Miami received an estimated 2.5 million visitors by rail. Most arrived on speculation tours, organized by real estate syndicates. The rail terminal district near Flagler Street became a continuous arrival zone where new passengers were met by sales agents before they reached hotels. Seaboard timetables and freight manifests from 1925, archived in the State Archives of Florida, show the volume of material flowing into the city, tens of thousands of tons of building material and human arrivals per month. But the system could not keep up with itself. Train cars were sometimes delayed for days in freight yards because building material orders exceeded the city's offloading capacity. Lumber and coral stone sat rotting in rail cars while construction crews waited blocks away. The Miami Herald ran coverage of railway congestion throughout June, July, and August of 1925. The infrastructure that made the boom possible arrived too efficiently. The city choked on its own supply chain before the hurricane ever touched land. Step off the train at the Seaboard Terminal on a morning in July 1925. The platform smells of creosote and swamp water. A man in a white linen suit hands you a pamphlet showing a rendering of a villa that does not yet exist. Another offers a free lunch and a tour. You see families with suitcases, contractors in work boots, a photographer setting up in front of a billboard. The air is humid, electric. You have been in Miami for 40 seconds, and someone is already trying to sell you a future. That future collapsed in a single September night. But what the hurricane destroyed was not the dream. It was the illusion that the dream had ever been built to last. The Great Miami Hurricane made landfall on September 18, 1926, as a Category 4 storm with sustained winds near 150 miles per hour. It destroyed an estimated 4,700 structures in Miami-Dade County. Many buildings less than a year old collapsed entirely. National Weather Service analysis and post-storm surveys from the Miami News and Miami Herald, now digitized at the University of Florida, document the scale of the damage. Investigators later found that numerous structures had been framed with green lumber and inadequate foundations to meet sales deadlines. The storm surge redrew portions of Miami Beach, erasing streets and lot lines that had been surveyed and sold only months earlier. Dozens of structures destroyed in the hurricane had never been formally occupied. They existed as address points on deeds, visible in photographs, but functionally uninhabitable. A city built in 18 months to simulate permanence was returned to sand and coral rubble in 18 hours. It left behind property records for places that no longer had coordinates. Imagine walking Collins Avenue in Miami Beach 3 days after the storm. The street is recognizable only by the angle of the shoreline. A stucco arch stands alone, no building attached. You see a bathtub in the sand, a sign for a casino that opened in May, a foundation slab with no structure. The photographs in the sales brochure you were handed at the train station show streets that no longer exist in any form. You are holding a map of a place that has already become archaeology. We can reconstruct the facades, the streets, even the light filtering through the royal palms. But we cannot reconstruct the feeling of arriving in a city that believed it could invent itself faster than time could judge it.